You want to play games? Okay. I'll play with you. Come on. Okay. You want to play rough? Okay.
Uno.
Say hello to my little friend! Okay. You want to play rough? Okay. Yeah. Okay. You like that?
Yes, family. You know, and it's time for a presentation, you know, because Easy ain't done one of these. So this is my first, you know, so, you know, this might be a little bit of, you know, a little bit of errors and that, you know, how we do it style, you know, but this topic has to be ended today still. It's like, you know, this bare philosophies, bare understandings, and this is where the concept, big up HOK, you know, House of Consciousness, you know, starting at TV, you know, to come up with a term, or not come up with a term, but the phrase is being put out there where you have to source up or shut up, you know. Toasty! So Easy got his presentation, you know, so what's Easy presentation is gonna start, we're gonna go and keep it rocking. So as you can see, PowerPoint, Easy put together, you know, so, yeah, as you can see, Easy and consciousness, yeah. Source up or shut the fuck up, yeah. Big up HOK, Sarnet 2 TV, their quote, their big up, yeah, their shout out, you know. So Easy, definitely salute to them, you know. But this is what you call a presentation, you know. So this is about the convo that's been going on, you know. My convo with Big Match Fit, you know. So salute to him as well. But it's time to end this, man. Easy's not gonna go back and forth all day. So straight away, we're gonna go into the meaning of consciousness, yeah. Make sure this thing don't jump slides.
Yeah. I throw it back.
That is all good. It's all good. Yeah. So Easy jumps into the meaning now because people come up with a different, you know, philosophy upon the word. You know, we use Cambridge Dictionary when we do our definitions of what the meaning of consciousness is. This is where I go to. You know, just do basic research, bro. You don't have to go into no deep depth thing. Cambridge Dictionary talks about the meaning of consciousness, yeah. Where does it state? The state of understanding and realizing something, yeah. The state of understanding and realizing something, yeah. This is Cambridge Dictionary, yeah. Another number 2, which is a state of being awake, thinking and knowing what is happening around you. So this is all in the realm of
consciousness, whatnot. So
yeah,
these are different bullet points on what they're saying.
This is from
what they
Cambridge.
describe it as.
Cambridge, yeah, the meaning of it. So this is all that Easy's dealing with, you know. Easy ain't done, you know. So, and another thing as well. So after I state this, I want to make it clear before we go even further, yeah. So, yeah, number 3 it says it's a noun, yeah. The fact of noticing the existence of something. Yeah, make sure we go back on that word or pause it or something. Yeah. Yeah. So straight back, yeah, because you know Easy goes to the origin of everything, yeah. So that was the next slide, yeah. So the fact of noticing the existence of something, yeah. This is under the definition or no, the meaning of consciousness. Merriam-Webster, yeah. Another source that you can go look at. It's not hard, you see. The quality or state of being aware, especially of something within oneself, yeah. The state or fact of being conscious of external object, state or fact, awareness. Yeah, so let's just deal with Easy's philosophy. No, it's not even philosophy. Well, yeah, it's a philosophy of the meaning consciousness. This is the fact. This is not no theory at the moment. Yeah, this is no theory. I don't deal with theories. You know.
Source backing.
This is source. So now we go into Wikipedia. Yeah. Wikipedia. Meaning of consciousness. Consciousness, at its simplest, is a sentence, a sentiment, or awareness of internal and external existence. Yeah. So we're talking about awareness. Yeah. Wikipedia, Merriam-Webster, and Cambridge Dictionary. The thing that a lot of people get confused, and this is the reason why I can't jump on certain people's lane, yeah, is where they match definition yeah, or meaning with theory. Yeah, a lot of people do that because the same goes with evolution. When people think of evolution, what's evolution? Darwin's theory. Animals come from, man come from primates. It's the same understanding.
If you say we call it evolution, they jump to that.
The Darwin theory. You see it? It's not the same thing. If you're dealing with, if you're meant to be scientific comes with scientific methods. You have to go through due process to even speak about certain facts. Mm-hmm. So for one, a meaning of a word only means
the definition of that word.
Of the definition of the word. You can add whatever theory that you want to add to it. It doesn't make it fact. It's a theory to the word. The word has a meaning. So consciousness. This is all I'm dealing with. So theories is end and void, because at the end of the day, until it's been proven to actually be factual, then I can accept your theory or disregard it as pseudo. You see? And that's how we're gonna go. So all I'm dealing with is the actual fact. The actual fact, through three dictionary definitions are talking about awareness, and talking about consciousness of external and internal existence.
We've got a question popping up, bro.
Yeah, that's what I'm dealing with, So, we jump onto I make it clear. So I made it clear. Evolution. A lot of people. This is the presentation where you can questions straight after. You know how we do. You know. So, like I was saying, evolution. There's a meaning behind the word. If you look at a lot of dictionary definition, it will come up with evolution meaning change, some form of change. Yeah. You can't add Darwin's theory of evolution as a concrete, as the definition. Yeah, it shows that you don't know what you're talking about, brother. So let's move on to the next one. So So Easy jumps onto a source that this is because Easy always go back and go back. I'm going to the ancient of anything. I always go to the foundation of where these of everything, where it emerges from. So this is scientific source. You got the name. Got to research that, brother. You can even Google the source, the ancient origin of consciousness. So basically, this is a quick one. This is just a little warm up, and this is basically what this is where they can scientifically prove a organism has consciousness. So it goes all the way back. You can read the whole thing if you want. How its consciousness is created. When did the first appear? When did it first appear on Earth, and how did it evolve? The constitution of consciousness, which animals can be said to be sentient.
That's like saying what sentient beings, isn't it? When people say sentient beings, that was coming up.
Facts, So facts. So we're not gonna read the whole thing. So we're gonna go straight into a few factual statements there, where they talk about the history. They said about 520 to 560 million years ago, explained in a period called Cambrian explosion. This is like ancient period of where you get Pangea, the Jurassic period. This is a period about 520 million years ago, where explosion and animal diversity produced the first complex brain, which were accompanied by the first appearance of consciousness.
So that's the same. Before that, it wasn't that kind of.
This is where they can prove the existence of consciousness. So this is a period that it dates back to about 520. This is all facts. So it's not where. It's not where we can say, this is where scientists. You can Google these scholars. There's two of them on this source. They're talking.
John and Malak for anyone.
How consciousness appear much earlier than evolution history than commonly assumed, and while all vertebrates and perhaps even some invertebrates are consciousness. So it goes in there, explains how in the Cambrian explosion, this is the period that they see the first appearance of consciousness, and then it goes in. From this they deduce that all vertebrates are and have always been conscious, not just humans and other mammals, but also fish, reptilians, amphibians, and the birds. Considering invertebrates, they find the arthropods, including insects and probably, I don't know what that is, crustacean or whatever, yeah? So it goes into that, yeah? Alright, so go to the next slide, because this is just the introduction. This is where you can find, yeah? So in this tree, this first life, yeah, as you can see down below on this diagram here, yeah? This is a build up to the crush down, and the lay down, the smack down, yeah? So this is like pictures on the source that I just pulled out. You go research it, you know, validate the information, always do that. So the first life, you got bacteria, archaea, always talk about, you know, the microbiome.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So at this time, this source is explaining how these organisms, these cellular, the single prokaryotics and prokaryotic at the time, bacteria, archaeas, they're bacteria, prokaryotic, alive, no nervous system, yeah? That's the first, that's the stem, yeah? Yeah. And they're trying to say number two, the greener leaves, yeah, are the starter system of what we call the nervous system, the core of the brain, yeah? So this is, yeah, and then when you get to the phenomenon of consciousness, yeah, where you get the vertebrate and the arthropods and the cephalopod, that whatever that is. Yeah? So this is where this science source is where the consciousness starts, the full extent of consciousness starts emerging from, yeah? This is where the first of life, yeah? We can go into that a little bit more, yeah? And then this one here, another diagram, as you can see, organisms at the three emergence levels in evolution of consciousness, yeah? And below, and it goes into, these are the levels of consciousness, yeah? The three emergent levels of consciousness. See, go check out the source, don't take my word, go through there, do your fact checking, yeah? Level one, you got life, yeah? So we're talking about microorganisms again, yeah? We got these eukaryotics, which is the birth of our cells now that we have, and we got the bacterium and the archaea, yeah, which is in our microbiome. You got other
showing on the left as well, isn't it?
Yeah, that's probably another type of virus or something there, because you know that's the beginning of life, and yeah, so it evolves into species of jellyfish and etc., flatworms and all that, where it's the build of the nervous system. This is all like how evolution evolves into certain systems starting to evolve and something like that. This is all a contribution to consciousness, you know. And
so
then they jump.
The number one beginning being the beginning.
The bacteria, you know. So there's life there.
That's the beginning of it.
Beginning, there's life. So it's always life. RNA, DNA creates life. You know, you got the subatomic particles. They all has substance where they can spark off life. So it's life. It's not. So for one, life
was present there.
Life is present, you know, and it always can be created without being self-aware. Yeah, because this ain't the beginning of consciousness. You see what I'm saying? So
even before that stage, was it?
Before that stage. So now this is where you go, the phenomenon of consciousness, where you get, look, the vertebrate, which is the spinal cord. If people don't know, the spinal cord, and you got the nervous system, the central, the peripheral nervous system. This is where the phenomenon of consciousness starts to occur into species. You got crabs, as you can see. Yeah, clearly. Yeah, this is the source. Go check it out. Don't bang on me. Easy walking through. So next slide. Let's go into the next slide, brother. So okay, now basically what I just explained there is what's on here. Yeah, so this
breaks it down in level 1, level 2, level 3.
Facts, yeah. So up here, simplest system that has life in a cell. Bacterium, archaea, being simple and simplest cells, yeah. Like I said, prokaryotics created the eukaryotes. The eukaryotes is the early form of life. First appearance, 3.7 billion years ago. Yeah, so we're talking about that. The emergent construction of macromolecules, proteins, nucleotides, sugars, lipids, and other organelle cells. Yeah, emerge process, strong boundaries, conditions. We don't have to go all. I ain't gonna go all through it, but this is the stages of life. What they try to explain, what evolves into consciousness. Is it? Yeah, that's on the images. This is what they explain of it. Yeah, so
detailed description of this.
Detailed scientists doing scientific research, coming up with their conclusions and studies. Yeah. So this ain't no like made up. Yeah. Trying to get into people's logic and make people believe into something, you know. So it goes into more. Yeah. Then it goes down to the bottom where evolution, natural selection becomes pruning processes that eliminate possibilities of evolutionary change and level onwards into level 2, so level onwards. So a natural selection begins at an early process as in cells, microorganisms trying to survive. Because I can even talk about the bacteria, how the cyanobacteria out survived the rest of the bacteria that was out at that time. Through the photosynthesis of the sun creating oxygen. It survived, see, so it's deep.
And that's how it cuts out the other side.
Yeah, there was life, microorganisms in the early stages of life, yeah, that got
killed off because
they couldn't survive, because they couldn't produce oxygen from the photosynthesis. That's another debate. But we go into more, and I won't forget, let me go back. Again, information based on organization directed by DNA genes. That's very important. Got a slide for that. So that's very important. Don't forget, first stages of life, DNA genes encoded in the specifically the chemical reactions. Yeah. So we know that chemical reactions, then all these were occurring. Subatomic particles, you know, the forces of negative and positive. You know, there's many forces that it's been going through. Yeah. So reactions have been occurring prior. Yeah. So the nervous system from reflex through levels of simple and core brains, not conscience. Not this level here, not conscience. This is what the scientific source is saying. 2 scientists are on this, back in this research. And they're trying to say level 2 here on Earth. They're talking about these they're talking about life now. They're talking about organisms that's not being conscious.
So it's not always present.
It was not always present.
Research, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah? Yeah, so, and remember, we're dealing with the definition of the word, you know. We're not dealing with no theory of it. We're not dealing with no theory. I'm easy not dealing with it. Because from when you can jump me on a theory of anything, and then you're not sourcing it by validated information, then you can jump me straight back to Christianity, you can jump me straight back to Islam, yeah, because you have not provided no validation. So that's done. You can't even have a cheek to even debate Islam or Christianity if you're standing on theories that is not backed down by scientific research.
And facts on the team.
So you're wasting your breath, bro. So let's go more. So let's go, not consciousness, yeah? So the first appearance, 580 million years ago, the emerged structure of multicellular animals, bodies, yeah, with different cell types, including neurons now. This is the emergent structure now. 580 million years ago, the Cambrian period, yeah, where cells, different types of cells are getting created now. Neurons, neural reflex acres, and sensory nerves net. Yeah, this is this is still a period
where it's not connected,
where there's not even consciousness.
So it's like it's building it.
So it's building, everything is building, yeah? So, everything is building. Then consolidation in central and peripheral nervous system comes from animals with simple brain receptors and chemical. This is talking about the sensory input now. This is the emergence of my sensory input that I'm talking about. So they're not, the sensory input, nervous systems, yeah, are not organs, bro. Yeah, let's get that correct. No, they're not organs, mate. They're olfactory systems, there's gustatory systems, and then many other systems. Yeah, chemoreceptors, mechanical receptors, photoreceptors, and etc. Yeah, the emergent process, speed of neurons transmitting signals. Neurons are transmitting signals fast enough to control actions of larger multicellular body in response to, I don't know if that cut out, response to, connectivity, reflex acres, and neuron networks coordinating in all parts of the large body, core brain processing, control of complex reflex in the inner body homeostasis, and then the basic motor programming, programs, essential patterns, generator of rhythmic locomotion, feeding and serial type, and etc. Set of levels of arousal, yeah? So this is the This is how these scientific scientists have come to the conclusion of how consciousness start to emerge in species and animals. Yeah. So, organisms, consciousness, organism possess it. Vertebrate, Afropoint. Now you're talking about the same picture that we talking about them. Emerge around. So just coming down off the Cambrian period. So this is the period where the first evidence of ancient consciousness, origin of ancient consciousness occurs from the Cambrian period. The neural complexity, essential core brain with many neurons, 10,000 at the time. Because now we've got trillions. So this is where evolutions,
kicking in.
Yeah, as we know, this is why, this is how we can acknowledge that our consciousness is upgraded now.
Yeah.
And now we can start doing things. Yeah, because in the beginning, like even up to like certain species like primates, and natural selections, they weren't able to survive through natural selection because like even up to the brain and the capacity of how to survive in the surroundings that they're in didn't help them through the survival of their. So it's when you deal with the meaning and the definition of the word, it's concrete evidence, and it's so funny where people try to say that physics can't prove the emergence or the arisal of consciousness. It's funny to me. So let's go on. The first slide is the origin. So easy. It's collapsed from the get-go. So we go in more. Yeah. Okay. So we go in more. So this is it, and then it goes into neural and goes into simple. Yeah. Like I said, 100,000 neurons and whatnot, many subtypes of neurons, yeah, because there ain't just one, yeah, elaborated sensory organs, yeah. You got imaging forming, eyes, receptors, and this is all going to the sensory input. The sensory nervous system, yeah, goes straight into the sensory input. That's exactly what it is. They're talking about all the basis of the sensory input, and then it even goes down to the higher level, allowing the complex processing and the unity of consciousness. Before I leave this source, it breaks it down on the first source. It's like okay, fine. The highest level allow the complex processing and the unity of consciousness. A unity now.
There's a come together.
So like I was explaining on my video when I was speaking about the primitive gut and the neural tubes. The primitive gut creates what we know now as the organs. Yeah, the neural tubes create what we call the vertebrae, the central nervous system, the peripheral nervous system, your cerebral cortex, your brain. Yeah, this is what the neural tube. So when people are saying something about the primitive guts is creating sensory input, I didn't understand what they were on about. Because primitive guts create organs. Yeah, organs. Yeah. Specific organs like the microbiome, the gut, which is known. That's why they call it the three human brains. You got the
brain, the heart, and the gut.
There you go. Why they call it the three brains? Because they all contribute to your brain, and they all have
connect and whatnot.
Yes, and they all contribute to your psyche, to your consciousness. That's why they call it the free brain.
Say like if one of them's cut off, one of them's messed up, you're just all over the place.
Well, yeah. Your consciousness, your awareness, how you perceive life, your reality.
Yeah, gonna be different.
It's gonna be different if it can get compromised. So let's go. It's like work. So hey, it's mad. So anywho, so higher brain levels insert more influence and lower neurons. Boy, just check this source out, because I think I'm spending too much time. No, actually, no, we're not. Because it goes consciousness, organized large amount of sensory information into and detailed, unified simulation of the world. Brother, am I making, when Easy speak, does he make it up, bro? That's when Easy, please explain. When Easy speaks, does he make it up? No, he doesn't. Does he? No, he doesn't. Consciousness organized large amounts of sensory information into detail. Yeah, unified stimulation of the world. response. Yeah, this is the. So we go on to the next one. Let's move on. Let's move on. Easy is on fire now. So okay. So okay. Another statement was made. Tangible and physical can't explain the birth, or they can't explain consciousness. Yeah, the origin or the arousal or the emergence of consciousness. So we pull up a source in it. We pull up a source. This source here, you go into it. You know, Carthage Metropolitan University, Cardiff, United Kingdom. Yeah. So he starts off by saying to explain consciousness as a physical process, brother. Yeah. This is just a headline for people. You know what I mean? I ain't gonna read the whole source. We're gonna go straight to the conclusions, though, innit? You see what I'm saying? Easy showed you, and this is how he started off his conversation. But we're gonna go to the conclusions, though. What he come up with, yeah? Light work, yeah? So this is how he started off his source, yeah? To explain consciousness as a physical process, we have to acknowledge the role of energy. Is energy tangible? Can we see the cause and effect of of energy? Can we measure it? Can we see? You see what I'm saying? Everything, energy is tangible. It's physics. Physical. We can see. Brother, it's light work. So, to understand consciousness as a physical process, we must acknowledge the role of energy in the brain. Energetic activity is fundamental to all physical processes and casually drive biological behavior. In recent neuroscientific evidence, so now evidence can be interpreted in a way that suggests consciousness is a product of organization of energetic activity in the brain.
So imagine, when people are brain dead, you know what I'm saying? They know, like, when they say people brain dead, like they're in they call it comatose, whatnot, in hospital.
Yeah.
They ain't got no energy in their brain. That's they can't be perceiving consciousness.
Well, basically, yeah.
They will say what?
Levels to it.
What do they say when they're in hospital, though?
What do they say?
They say they're unconscious.
Yeah, unconscious, coma is a state of consciousness where you're not aware of. So, but we're gonna go into the basics as well. This is I kind of should have just made it. I should have made it basic, and then go into it.
It's like one of them ones. I was just saying, like, okay, if it's just given just like that, and you're conscious. But you're in that state. You're unconscious though, so you're not conscious. You know what I'm saying? I'm just.
I don't know, but that's what the theory is. That's why and this is why I cannot accept it. I'm not standing on that theory. It's not the definition. Stop saying that. It's a theory that it's been that a lot of scientists right now has jumped off it. They jumped off it. You're stuck on old news, brother. You're stuck on old news. It's been debunked. It's not even debunked. It's been left there. Because a lot of theories that's been out there and it's been left. Yeah, scientists are not running with it no more.
Roll with the science, bro. You roll with science updates, bro. Everything if you keep studying, bro. Keep
on. The information upgrades all the time. So yes, let's go back straight into it. So we know that the recent neuroscientific evidence can interpret in a way such as consciousness is a product of organization of energetic activity in the brain. The nature of energy itself, tough and remain largely mysterious. Yeah, so energy itself is. So they haven't like fully understand, but they're testing. It's like our brain is physical. They haven't understand the full capacity of our brain yet.
What's it, the percentage of man that they say that use their brain as well? What's it like?
Yeah, that's what they're saying. Yeah, I think that was a little bit. Even then, that concept is outdated as well. They're trying to say that it's a little bit. But even then, though, even like the ocean that we live in, they haven't been, and they have this.
To be able to we could investigate how.
So already it shows that even physics we haven't delved into the depth of it. But yet we wanna
try and come to conclusions about that full thing.
But yet instead of studying the basics. We want to jump onto some phenomenon.
Yeah, you never get it.
You're jumping on some phenomenon of the course of everything.
No, and this get it, bro. You can't understand them things, bro.
Jumping straight back to Christianity, bro.
It's like me trying to jump to be an electrician without studying, bro. Man, dead, bro.
and then you want to give me your theory about how electric work.
Yeah, no,
it's tangible evidence. You learn that in school. Kids go to school and switch on lights using positive and negative charges using circuits. Kids do this. This is what it's talking about. energy now. It's basic, so we go into it. So now, conclusion. If unconsciousness is a natural physical process, then it would be explainable in the terms of energy, force, and work. So we can see the cause and effect of how consciousness emerged from through tangible evidence, like using energy, work, and force. Yeah, energy is a physical property of nature. I thought you said that you cannot come to a conclusion on consciousness out of physics. That's what you said. I'm gonna pull it out there. I'm gonna pull it on there when you said it as well, fam. Like, leave easy alone. Like, you so. And if not, dude, brother, you're more than welcome. Pull out your presentation. You can go through it, bro. It's not hard. So we go. Energy is a physical property of nature that is casually affectuous and like force and work can be conceived and actualized difference of emotion and tension. Evidence from neurobiology indicates that the brain operates on the principle of energetic processing and that the certain organization of energy in the brain measured with information theoretic techniques can be reliable, predict the present and levels of consciousness. So they're talking about a physical, scientific method to come to the conclusion that they're done. They measured it, they tested it, they see that it works, and they have evidence. Yeah? So, let me see if I can go on, I can break down, you can read the whole article if you want. Yeah? So, it is proposed that the particular kind of activity occurs in the human brain that causes our conscious experience. It causes our conscious experience, bro. It's subjective. It's your conscious experience. Yeah? It is a certain dynamic organization of energetic processes having a high degree of differentiation and integration. This organization is concursively self-referential and results in a pattern of energetic activity that blossoms to a degree of complexity, significance of consciousness. If consciousness is a physical process and physical processes are derived by actual differences, I think that's the source of this really there. Then differences, motions and tensions, then there is something it is like to undergo actual differences organized by certain ways in the brain. And this is what we experience. Yeah? Intuitively. Go check that out. Consciousness as a physical process caused by the organization of energy. Remember, don't forget, energy. Boy, let's go on. Because like Easy said, it ain't just the brain. So we go on to more. Now, light work. So then we go on to another source, yeah? We're going straight to PhDs now. Yeah? People have been doing it and studying it. Don't take Easy word from it, promise. Don't take Easy word from it. I just do my best to break down the
And they were set, and that's recent, that's last year, bro.
Jeez! Upgrade the information, but upgrade. Where does consciousness come from, though? That's what he's talking about. Where's the original consciousness? This guy
our brains created, okay.
And how does we break? Well, this is a title. Because a lot of people say, oh, that's a title, he might not. So we're going straight into what he's saying. But all I do say is a British neuroscience, that's his name, go check out his background, PhD, you know. So we already do with I do with a bit of both PhDs, but you know, as the source is saying, you know. Okay, going to what he's saying, yeah. Jumping to one of his things, he says, general anesthetic does not work on the brain or on the mind. Yeah?
On the consciousness.
It works on the consciousness. General anesthetics doesn't work just on your brain or your mind, it works on your consciousness. So I'm confused now. If a physical, tangible thing can alter your consciousness, then where does consciousness come from? But how can it?
It would have to be something that you've come from. If it's all in your, if it's all in your consciousness, it must be something that your team put together.
If I'm giving you something that's physical, that can make your physical alter your phenomenon, and certain theories and think it's a phenomenon that creates everything. How can physical alter it? So we go straight on to that. I'm not going. But altering the delicate electrochemical balance within the neuron circuitry inside your head. It's light work to me, bro. But I think I'm gonna let me just skim through because you know I think with this boy, because Easy's got some sources and my GoPro, my might have to change the battery, so we're gonna have to go on pause or something, boy. Because it never gone. Yeah, so we go on to that. Yeah, so yeah, like I said, general anesthetic does not work. Does just not work on your brain. It works on the consciousness by altering electromagnetic. Everything goes back to energy and electromagnetic field. That's what it goes back to. So what is consciousness? It's telling you what it is. Yeah, and ain't this source, bro. But it's light work. So it alters it by delicate electrochemical balance within the neuron circuitry inside the brain. Yeah, the basic ground or state of what it should be, what it is to be, is temporarily abolished. In this process lies one of the greatest remaining mystery in science and in philosophy. Somehow within each of our brains, the combined activity of billions, because I'm not talking about hundreds of thousands in the beginning. Now we're dealing with billions and trillions of neurons now. So neurons, each one of these biological machine is giving a rise to conscious experience.
Finish him.
And not just any conscious experience, your conscious experience.
Right here, right now.
Blood clot. Alright, next slide, bro. This is Calas, bro. Okay. Boy. Another source. Alright, check her out, yeah? Frances Ashcroft, yeah? She's what? Okay, reader. Yeah, she's Ashcroft is a British ion. Now we're dealing with ions. Go back to channel psychologist. She is a Royal blah 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 University Laboratory Physics, University of Oxford, and you go into the Google her, you find out her, yeah. Her source. What her source is? We are controlled by electrical impulses. Why ain't these science saying consciousness? I can't understand, bro. And what when this source is okay, I think that source there is quite late, but we can go into more. It don't really matter. Listen to what she says. She does this work, yeah. So what about their role in the brain? Ion channel are truly the spark of life. It don't take consciousness, bro. I thought it was the essence of life. Essence is, but it don't even mean that in a definition, bro. It's crazy.
Awareness and all of these type of things.
It doesn't talk about life in the definition, brother. So this is where I'm confused, bro. Your theory don't even come close to the definition. I understand if Darwin theory come up with primitive, I'm talking about change and evolution. We can see how it changes.
And it's close enough to the definition.
It's close enough to the definition. Man, talking about some phenomenon that creates everything, spark of life. How can something create these organisms? How can something create these organisms that creates consciousness? Read up because that's the scientific theory that's backed by evidence. So check that out. Ions are truly the spark of life, for they regulate the activity of our brain cells. Yeah, they are intimately involved in learning, memory, and in the control of movement in our thoughts and feelings. Consciousness arise. Please explain what arise means. Arise means it come from, occur from. So I'm lost now. I thought it was the other way around.
Nah, not to the study, bro.
Ions. So we go into that. I'm making this too low. But it's like, I don't know, bro. Like, I'm gonna go. But anywho, consciousness arises from the electrical activities of the nerve. Why is these scientists coming up with the same conclusion, bro? Yeah? Which in turn is generated by ion channels. I talk about ion channels I talk about the neurons and the sodium and potassium pump that generates actual potential. What is that? That is electrical currents that circulate, sends the messages all the way to your brain, creating what you call electrical magnetic fields. This is what I'm talking about. This is what the scientist is talking to. It's easy. I'm capping. Brother, come on, light work, fam. That's light work for me, bro. So, okay, generated by ion, which in turn is generated by ion channel. Most general anesthetics works by interacting with ion channels. So it answered the last
one's question as well. Because if that's creating activity for consciousness, but then it's interacting with that. That's why
anesthetics interact with ions. It don't even interact with this phenomenon, this spookism. Please allow me, bro. It's telling you right there. It interacts with ion channels, bro. Come on, man. Easy does this, you know. Easy. Next one. It's class, man. It's class. So now, all right. I think
this the on switch for human consciousness deep within the brain. The on switch. On and off. On and off.
How can you switch on and off consciousness, brother?
On and off. Well, they say unconscious though, isn't it?
How can you switch it on and off?
I don't know. If it's
by tampering with something physical.
You're gonna find out.
How can they? We're gonna find out. We definitely are. So, yeah, and this source says Sebastian Anton, whatever his name is. Yeah, this is a 2014 source. Yeah, but you know, go research his name. Bro, this is light work. It's still light work, yeah? So we go straight into...
George Washington University.
Yeah, George Washington University, yeah, has reported that they discovered the human consciousness on and off switch. Deep in the brain, brother. When this region of the brain called colostrum is electrically stimulated, consciousness, self-awareness, tenesis is... Was this in the definition?
Yeah, sentience.
Sentience.
Yeah,
was this in the definition?
Yeah.
Awareness was in the definition? Yeah. Okay, this is what we're talking about. So whatever you want to call it appears to turn off completely.
Dead.
When the stimulation is removed, consciousness returns.
Now turn that off.
Blood clot return. The colostrum seems to bind together all our senses. But going back to what I was talking about, now we're talking about the sensory input. So now, but can you see how what I was speaking all comes together?
First diagram and team.
When I talk about a sensory input, yeah, sensory, and then we're talking about electrical currents, yeah. The colostrum binds to our senses, perception. We're talking about sensory input again, and computation into single, cohesive and experience. This could be massive. That's what they're going on. So the research of Mohammed Columbisi and so there's another site that he referenced soon. In Washington DC was originally tasked to analyze a woman with epilepsy. So this is how. So now, let me just make it clear. We're not theorizing now. This is all actual.
Studies. Whatnot.
Yeah. Activities that's going on. So this is not now man just coming out and having debates and putting up slideshows. This is
going through things, bro. Yeah,
this is how people's life is depending on this type of knowledge,
research and shit. Yeah.
So it's crazy. Now we're dealing with science that is impacted by.
Interacting with it.
Come on, light work. Epilepsy. The neuroscientists were stimulated the region of the brain with electrodes in the attempt to discover where her seizures originated from. Then when they stimulated the colostrum, the thin region of the brain underneath the neural cortex, the patient slowly lost consciousness. And when the stimulation was removed, the consciousness returned. When this colostrum was stimulated, the woman just stopped whatever she was doing, reading, speaking, and stared into blanky into space. So she was gone.
Yeah, blood.
When stimulation was removed, she continued as normal with no recollection of what just happened, brother.
Turned off the off switch. Bro.
Fatality.
Yeah, bro.
So, do you reckon anyone can explain what consciousness this is? If it ain't something that's been created by something tangible,
Bro.
pseudo.
Evidence come together.
It is class. All right, we're going to jump on to the next slide.
The next one.
Yep, we're ready. Okay, we're going to basics. Yeah, we're going to activities of what real people with real lives are going through. Yeah, real life. We're not even going to go into all this scientific debate and when people are going through the disorders of consciousness, they'll go to the doctors, yeah, and they go to the neuroscience, yeah, and then.
What do I say, blood? When man are in hospital, blood, brain damage, bro. What they say, blood?
So we're going back to basics, bro. It's all light work to me. Like, I don't know why these people just don't leave me alone. Like, please, when you speak to me, this be
consciousness there, bro. Look at that. It has both wakefulness and awareness. It's a come together of both things, bro. Of a couple of things.
Funny. It's funny. So this is this. I'm just putting out the people that are actually doing the work in the field and what their concept of. Because we're not doing the work in the field. We're not saving people.
Don't jump right to the bottom. What I say, bro?
Coma.
What they say, bro? Look, main disorders of
vegetation state.
And a veg, bro.
Minimum conscious state. So okay, well, this is I'm like, yeah, easy gunshot, yeah. Go on to the basics. I don't have to read it. You know where it goes. A disorder of consciousness or impairment of consciousness in a state of where conscience has been affected by damage to the brain, bro. These doctors are not going to some phenomenon, bro. I'm sorry, that's pseudo. I'm sorry, that's pseudo. That's not going to help no one. When things go wrong in the brain, they affect the brain to sort it out. When people go through schizophrenia, when people go through mental health shit, they create up solutions, tangible solutions that affect the brain to help stimulate your conscience, bring your conscience back to life. They don't mess with your phantom. I'm sorry, I don't know how it even works, bro. I don't even know how that theory even works. I don't know how it works because you can't prove it. So it's light work. So we go straight on to the next one. Actually, no. Let's go back. Let me just go into their understanding. This is the doctor's understanding of what consciousness is. This is not mine. This is not mine. So consciousness requires both wakefulness and awareness. What's wakefulness? Wakefulness is the ability to open your eyes. This is again senses. Senses. Ability to work. You have to see. You have to be observant, bruv. And to have basic reflux such as coughing, swallowing, and sucking. This is all again sensory impulse. Yeah, awareness is associated with a more complex processes and more difficult to assess. Currently, the assessment on awareness relies on physical responses.
Examination.
Being detected during examination. Main disorders of consciousness are coma, vegetation, medial consciousness.
Next.
Okay. I think I'm gonna do the last one. Now we're talking about where the consciousness emerged from.
Wait, there's more though.
Huh?
There's more.
There's hella more.
Yeah, bro. That's what I'm saying.
Hella more. So this is how life, when I was trying to explain how the neuron tube and the primitive gut forms into your, and how it, because it's a little bit more deeper than what I explained. But the topic weren't about that.
Yeah,
it was me just, I'm building with the sister and was going through the perspective. If you really want me to do it, I can do it. I can break it down in the next thing where I can show you how it all works and how it correlates and how it unifies and creates and emerges your consciousness. So we go to the emergence of the human consciousness from
fetal to neonatal, bro.
Yep. And what source is that? How many scientists are referencing this source? Well, 2. You got this source here, this person here, researcher,
Hugo Lagerkrantz,
and Jean Pierre, whatever. These 2 scientists are validating this information. Published out in 2009. Yeah, they're just talking about how the babies. Yeah. Okay. Well, let's start off with the definition. Let's start off with the definition.
So no, look at that there. Really bottom left, bro.
That is at the top.
Yeah, but even that one there look abstract, a simple definition.
Yeah, the abstract, yeah, you have to make it clear.
Sensory awareness, bro.
Yeah, so this is the whole PDF. It's not really because all these sources All these sources are like 12 pages, 25 pages of these sources, you know.
Document,
So we don't have to go to read it. I'm not reading the whole source. So I'll go to the abstract or the conclusions. So the abstract is talking about the whole PDF in general. So it says the simple definition of consciousness is sensory awareness of the body, the sense, the self, and the world. The fetus may be aware of the body, for example, perceiving, now we're going back to sensory again, fetus of the body, for example, perceiving pain. It reacts to touch, sensory input again, in the womb, embryo, touch, smell, sound, and facial expression respond to external stimuli, response to external. So,
from outside of it.
Both, internal and external. This talking about external. However,
I was even going to say as well, just even before, like, when a woman's pregnant and then something might happen and they go in the hospital and be like, oh, the baby's in distress. How's the baby, like, if it's not aware, how could it be in distress?
Wow.
It knows something wrong, or something wrong with it, or something's in pain. That's why it's in distress, so it has to be aware.
Aware. This is where all the sensory input, that's what I was talking about, the sensory input, the stimuli. When you leave the womb, your fetus is fresh, where neurons, up to I think about 250,000 neurons is developed from when you leave the womb. So that means it's picking up all the external and internal information for when it exits the womb. And then breastfeeding and more external sensory input turns that 250 billion neurons into 500 by the time of 3 weeks.
Bring it on.
Come on, brother. This is like what to me. So the fetus may be aware of the thing inside, yeah? However, these reactions are probably pre-programmed. Now we're going to go into DNA, chromosomes, yeah? These are all tangible physical things. This is my point. I never said one thing is the occurrence of a consciousness. It's a combination of physical, tangible, biological substance that we can all prove and see the cause and effect of. Yeah? So, however, these reactions are probably pre-programmed and have a cortical non-conscious origin. Yeah, so things can run unconscious like organs. You got the autonomic systems. These are systems that this one, exactly. So furthermore, the fetus is almost continuously asleep and unconscious, particularly due to endogenous sedation. Yeah, so it's unconscious.
Is it like a chemical something, but in there keeping it like sedated kind of things that we're saying?
Well, I wouldn't come to a conclusion now unless I do. I'm not even gonna switch my head off on this thing. So I could explain that a little bit on another.
Because even jumping to both, it's saying it could be that, could be unconscious, but now it's saying boom, it could be look conversely. Yeah.
Conversely, the new infant can be awakened. It can be awakened. So it's asleep, getting these, it's the build up, the foundation of a baby, through genetics, exhibits can be awakened, exhibit sensory awareness and the process of memorized mental representation. It is also able to differentiate between self and non-self touch, expression, emotion. So within there, that these forces and this sensory input is producing
within it.
And it's not just that. It's not just the fact. It's saying that, but it's not just the fact. It's a contribution of somewhere else. I'm going to go into that. It's tangible. So this is, and that's what I'm trying to say. When this one source is saying that this is it, it's more than that. And it's more sources that's going to tell you where is it contributing and how this child is getting these pre-programmed things. I'm going to show you. It's there. It's not a phenomenon. It's not an unknown shit.
Go back to evidence and.
So let's go for the next one. I think I can go for one more. And before I lock off, and then we go back. Yeah. Woo! How many scientists on this one?
Isn't it? Pure. What's it? 1, 2, 3.
Yeah. These are the scientists that are backing this research. Yeah. Simple. Do your research. Yeah. Sensory consciousness is experienced. It's experienced through the amplification of sensory stimuli via lateral inhabitants, if I pronounce that correct. Anyway, straight to the abstract, yeah? Because we're not going to read it. It's a whole PDF, bro. That's all I do, I read PDF. I don't just watch YouTube channel of certain scientists pushing their narrative, because you're going to have that.
Yeah.
And I'm definitely not, I'm watching too much on theories
and whatnot.
Theories. You know, it's okay to watch. I'm not trying to say it's not, but you can't base your whole foundation on it. You have to actually read peer-reviewed studies and research. That's what I'm saying. That's what you call researcher. That's what you call scholarly research. You have to peer-review. You have to cost. You have to make sense and come with your own conclusions. Don't just speak on what people are saying. I'm putting a collective of different sources coming up with what I've been speaking about. This is what I've been saying. So, abstract, present research, at present, research are unclear about which activity, so they're unclear about which activity is responsible for the emergence of consciousness. The brain, we're talking about the brain, they're unclear, subconscious and unconscious. Current research suggests that consciousness is isolated in the brain. However, we suggest that consciousness emerged from both subconscious and unconscious activity. In addition, so it can emerge from and up, so your organs, everything that's working in the body can, yes. So it ain't a one thing. So I don't know if anyone think they get, bam. I never say that the brain is the only thing. It's a major factor though. This article contains that sensory consciousness arise from neurophysiological brain activity. So it arises, sensory consciousness arises from neurophysiological brain activity. Because we broke down where the energy. So this is where the consciousness sensory arises from. Is where in transpersonal space. We're talking about the sensory information, the parallel processing of external and internal information, environmental through. This is the sensory systems. Vision, olfactory, taste, the intermentary system. I don't make too much of that. And gustatory and audio. So I'll assume vision. Okay, that's probably proprioceptors. I assume. I'm not too sure. Additionally, the lateral
inhibition.
Inhibition is defined as the ability to excite neurons to literally inhibit its neighbor. So again, it comes back to the neuron, exciting the neurons. And in its integral part are connecting the science behind the well-established physiological observation of gamma waves. So they're going back to waves, activity in the interneuron or of the peripheral receptors. So what they're saying is that they're combining the brain with the peripheral system, peripheral receptors, peripheral system. This is all with what is currently unknown regarding the functional significance of stimuli unrelated gamma activity in the cortical thalamic gamma oscillation. We suggest that this allows for instantaneous integration of the brain with sensory receptors. Let's get to my point though. Okay, this is the same thing. Okay, in this article we connected the science back. Okay, we've done that. We read that. So we suggest that this allows for instantaneous integration of the brain with sensory receptors. This article used existing literature on the lateral inhibition, I can't pronounce that word, to investigate its role in the sensory organ and various areas of the body. We explain how sensory consciousness is only one component of unified consciousness. So again, it just validates what I'm saying.
It's a unity between things.
Yes. We explain how the sensory consciousness is only one component of the unified. Okay.
With this slide,
this slide, So, after that source, we're just going to the conclusion of what their source is. Check it all out, and this is what the conclusion is. The evidence provides supports our theory that the sensory consciousness is indeed part of the unified consciousness experience. And like I've been saying, yeah, it ain't just one tangible source of where it emerged from. It's a combination of multiple, yeah. This is just one of them, yeah. So, conscious experience and the experience of the external world is only possible through these senses. That's powerful, you know.
Yeah, but without these senses, like you're not perceiving.
The experience of the external world. So never mind what creates, you know what I mean? For you to observe and for you to be fully be able to control what you're doing from the external world, you have to have sensory consciousness plays a big part in that.
Right, that you ain't having no full experience.
But you call that there, boy. Mad thing.
You say that, like, does your alarm sound like that?
No, I don't know, boy. It's over there somewhere.
Yeah, because you're parked on that side. I can't see you.
You can't see from here.
But you don't know if your alarm sound like that, do you?
No.
No, I don't think it's your see that.
Can't see from here, regardless of it.
No, but I can't see it. It's off though.
Yeah. But that switch off, I think, because you should go back on again, innit? It shouldn't come off, would it?
No, but I think I heard that one earlier.
Yeah. So yeah, back to the thing anyway. Yeah, we're not gonna edit that. So basically, yeah. So like I was saying, for your external experiences of the world, it can only be possible through these senses that I'm talking about. Yeah, the 7 senses, and there's many more senses. Yeah, that our body goes through. The lateral inhibition could be fundamental in the role of sensory consciousness. It is sensitive to stimuli that allows a person to experience the world and to respond to external stimuli accordingly. Each sensory organ, yeah, must perceive and magnify or inhabit sensory signals, and the brain must convert them into electrical or chemical signals
For them to pass about.
before the sensation can rise to consciousness, before the senses can sense. So the information has to be perceived by the sensory,
Passed off by all them signals from the brain and all of that before it can even be conscious kind of a.
and how did they do it? Through electrical and chemical signals. We propose that the lateral inhibition may have a fundamental role to play in the emergence of sensory consciousness, unified consciousness in a heterogenesis process. Therefore, the experience of consciousness as a whole is a very complex combination of individual processes that work together to give us experience of unified consciousness. Yeah? Must I say that again? You know? The experience of consciousness as a whole is a very complex combination of individual processes that work together to give us the experience of unified consciousness. This is what Easy's been saying. I'm sorry, this is what Easy's been saying. So, I think it goes on to the next one, where it talks that the continuation is that the lateral inhibition not only allows excited neurons to inhibit neighboring neurons, but it's also responsible for amplification of sensory stimuli. The new theory proposed in this paper suggests that the external sensory stimuli are converted into electrical signals. All of these scientists and these sources refer back to one major factor. And it's clear, if you know the biology, about how these neural senses, the peripheral senses, the sensory senses, all them works. It's clear as day how they all work. So to me, it's a no-brainer, isn't it? But for the people that don't know, you know, it always goes back to the electromagnetic field. Yeah. So, new theory proposed in this paper suggests that the external stimuli are converted into electrical signals processes through the cortical-thalamic feedback loops, and they're integrated with the thalamus to recreate the external information into an internal representation, providing the mind with a unified conscious experience. This expansion to the unified 3D default space consciousness model only address the sensory component of consciousness. Yeah? So this is that source, you can read through it. Yeah. So, and it goes in more how, okay, let me read it, let me finish it off. One of the functionalities monitoring of the physiology of these components of consciousness are more likely to be conducted. Further research should include stimulation monitoring and intraoperative sensory cortex and the corresponding skin of internal and neural activity. So this is what they're gonna have to do to come with that conclusion. Yeah, nothing spookism. They're going through internal neuron and they're going through the neural activity, which this would show an identical frequency at rest that encodes the external signal that latter inhibition upon external stimulation, confirming the lateral inhibitants of the consciousness working together to form a united conscious experience. Yeah.
So it shows again a combination of things.
Yeah, boy. I hope I ain't lost. Let's go to the next. Lost my energy. I need to get my energy back.
Next one.
Yep, we're ready to go. So again, that's what I was saying. Yeah. How the unified consciousness.
Yeah, the brain.
The unified consciousness. We go to what? A source. Another source, yeah. Written by Radek Vanan, yeah. 2020 source. The gut. So this is now the three components that we were speaking about, the three brains, yeah. The heart, the gut, and the brain itself, yeah. So this is a article about how these components can create consciousness, yeah. But specifically talking about the microbiology, yeah, the microbiome, yeah. So the gut. So that's the source. Look it up. It's not hard to find, yeah. And then it goes straight into the conclusion. That's where it easy goes into, yeah. In this paper, I have discussed the importance of new biological discovery for philosophy of mind. Specifically, I have shown how the gut microbiome axis forms a complex system, creating our consciousness, brother.
Or tree.
It helps create the unified consciousness, brother. I don't know how much ways you can put it. You know, there's sources that talks about how it arose and how it emerged. This is talking about creation now of consciousness that we speak upon. Yeah, So, thus, our consciousness is realized through the material structure constituted by the bidirectional communication between the brain and the gut microbiota. I have demonstrated that none of these components of the brain-gut microbiome axis is necessary for the emergent existence of consciousness, and hence consciousness is multiplied realizable. On the other hand, I have argued that all the components of this axis are necessary for the types of consciousness health humans have. Consequently, philosophers must take in account that the whole brain gut microbiome system is in their studies, and they cannot focus solely on the brain as they did in the past.
So they were trying to say, like I'm saying, like they upgraded in the past of saying more time is the brain and brain stuff happen, brain stuff this that, but now he's showing it's a combination brain.
Combination. This is what you call a unified consciousness. This is basically telling you it's a combination, and
it's all three of them that come up with those three to have, what did they say? Healthy humans have the type of consciousness healthy humans have.
Yeah.
But all three of them matching up.
On the other hand, I'd argue that all the components of the axis are necessary for the type of consciousness healthy humans have.
So if you don't have all three match up, not a healthy thing.
Yeah. Because we've got some sick people with sick conscience, right?
See people with mental health and whatnot, but it's off balance, isn't it?
That's why they say that you have to check your microbiome.
Off balance, blood. And when you get your health right, gut right.
Yep. Brain right. Yep. And the heart together, heart contribute to it as well.
So start thinking straight, because like how you said, bro, their consciousness over there, the ones that's fully like genuinely like they got mental health, they're not seeing the world how man see the world.
Of course, schizophrenia,
bro.
And then even up to magic mushrooms that can they loop you thinking that there's some
some madness out there, blood. Some madness.
So let's go straight into it.
Next.
Yeah, let's go straight into it. Okay, another source, 2020. So it's not old source, Lauren Spinney is written, I assume, or she could have this raw article, but Science News, you can Google it. You have to be a member to get the full article, So we're just gonna go a little bit more on what she wrote, and we're gonna push more forward, So let's go on to the main points. Consciousness isn't just the brain. So when people say consciousness comes from the brain, it sounds stupid, bro. It just shows that you don't know what you're on about. You don't know, your level of studies is minute. You don't know what you're on about, bro. It's plain and simple. If you're gonna talk about something, do the thorough research about something. I'm not gonna talk about no blah 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 unless I know what I'm talking about.
Back in there,
So consciousness, no, it ain't just the brain. The body shapes our senses of self, and what this lady is speaking about, electrical signals. And where's it coming from now?
Keeps coming up.
But where's it coming from?
It's a heart, blood.
Your heart.
And other organs.
Third brain, the heart. Why have the heart have to be in there? Why does the heart have to be included? Because the heart, for one, it's the most magnetic and electrical organ of the body. More electrical than the brain itself. And it also has what you call its own neurons. So get your science up, man. Get your science up. It has its own neurons, which are called pacemakers. It sends its own signals unconsciously. Its own gateway to send its own signals to actually create its own actual potential. What does a heart do? Pump the blood around the body. How does it do that? By generating electrical current to pump and push through the arteries, through the veins, because the arteries. Your artery is there for blood to enter, and the veins is what the distribution. That's how it works. But if you delved in deep into science, you will know that. You won't come up with stupid mistakes like that. Anyway, so electrical signals coming from the heart and other organs influence how you perceive the world, the decisions you take. The decisions you take, free will. Your decisions that you take, okay. Your senses of who you are and consciousness itself, okay. We're not just, because we get some people could get gas on the thing. Let's see what she actually says. So we go into this part here, so I'll pop it in, So about whatever that person's name, Garfinkel, now at a University of Essex, UK, discovered that our body has more influence over our mind than you might imagine. Our thoughts, feelings, and our behavior are shaped in a part of the internal signals that arise from our body. She says, but it goes beyond that. So she doesn't stop there, It it is leading her and others to a surprising conclusion that the brain helps generate our senses of self and is a key part of consciousness. So there we go. Next source. Go on, that's light work though. That's light work. Okay. We're gonna go for more. We're gonna go back to the past again now. We're going back to the origin. That's what we went back to the key of life and talking about microbiome. We're talking about the bacteria, the option.
The bacteria kind of thing could have been responsible.
We're talking about viruses now. Viruses could be contribute to the mode of consciousness. So it don't just pop out of nowhere. This ancient tangible substance is coming up. It's coming up. And it has influence within your consciousness. How does that work? I don't understand. How does that work? So, an ancient virus may be responsible of humans' consciousness. A virus. So we go into more deep. It's called the ARC gene. Yeah? So even when this is a gunshot and it's a fire at, it's a learning thing. Because easy, I'm showing you information, you know, that you can, you know, like I said, substance, like we were getting about the child, the chromosomes, the DNAs. This is all pre-programmed information that's getting installed. This is not no spook phenomenon. This is genetics. So we go straight into the virus, yeah? So the ARC gene, shortly after a synapse fires. So we're talking about electrical signals again. Why is every scientist on these sources are talking about electrical currents? ARC gene. Shortly after synapse fire, the viral gene known as the ARC comes to life. Remember the spark of life? Yeah, so we're going to go into that. Writing its instruction down as bits of a mobile genetic code known as RNA, brother. What is RNA? It's tangible substance. We're talking about phosphate backbones. We're talking about sugars. We're talking about nitro bases, nitrogen bases. Yeah? You know, talk about DNA and RNA. Tell me what they are. Break it down, show me. I don't think people know. They just talk upon talk. That's what they do, bag of chat. So, we know that through our DNA, more exclusively with viruses in the RNA. With RNA had the extra oxygen. That means it can move around within the the organism. Yeah, the cell. Yeah, the researchers found a synapse in the junction between two neurons. DNA, RNA and DNA messengers and agents in the world outside the cell nucleus. A single strand copy of the DNA code double hex is carried genetic instructions to place there can be useful. In a place where they can be useful. Yeah. Interestingly, viruses tend to store the genetic codes in RNA rather than DNA. They rather get where it's out of, because as I was trying to say, I can break it down, I can show you. All of this, I can break it down and show you how it enters into our cell. Like, and that's the thing, you know? Like, it's more than just reading and guessing. I can show how it works. Drawing diagrams and how cells and viruses enter into the cell and interact with the messenger RNA after it takes the copy from the DNA and leaves the nucleus. So it's like when I read this information, because now it makes sense. Once I know the mechanics behind it, I understand it. And when I read this, it makes sense. And that's my main point. What that theory does, which I'm going to talk about, because that theory is an outdated theory. It's called dualism. That's your theory, Matt Fit, bro. It's dualism. Google it. I don't know if you know. it ain't a new concept, and it's not, and it's a concept that Asians did believe in, but a European has this concept in the science field. You're acting like this is only a philosophy that ancient civilizations has thought about. No, the Europeans took those concepts and ideas and made it into what you call dualism. But then it comes in the same category because there ain't no sources or evidence and foundation. It still comes into belief system, brother. So I'm sorry, I'm not jumping onto your belief system. So it doesn't matter. I would never accept your theory of consciousness because there's nothing factual about what you're saying. This is what the main point is. I would never accept it because if I would accept your concept, then I'm about to go straight back to Jesus.
Yeah.
Simple. So
theories.
Theory. I don't mind theories. Like I rocks with like Darwin's theory to a certain extent. It's backed up by genetics, codes, and evolution. And
facts behind certain things.
I'm not gonna be back behind something I have nothing.
Yeah.
But you're trying to tell you're trying to interact with me, like you're trying to just get into my brain and trying to make me think of the bro. Come on, man, allow it. So we go back to the DNA and the RNA, yeah, the virus interaction, yeah. So we go into the genetic code. We know how it is. Following the RNA instructions, the nervous cells build capsids. Capsids, what's capsids? People don't know. Okay, it's facts, yeah. Yeah, capsid is the envelope where the virus actually holds into, yeah, the body of the virus, virus-like envelope, yeah, around it. Like I said, it's like a shell, yeah. Those envelopes let it travel safely between cells, and it does just that, entering neighboring neurons and passing its packet of genetics information along with them, according to studies. It's still unclear what that information does when it arrives to a new cell, but the research found that without the process functioning properly, synapse either way, whether way, and the problem with the ARC gene tends to show up in people with autism. An ancient virus. It showed up today. That's mad.
Autism.
So how can you throw away evolution in the state in the understanding of bacteria or microbiome that help with the contribution of cells, cells turn into tissues, tissues turn into organs, organs turn into organisms. How can we throw it that way? We can't.
Altogether,
when
it's still there.
When there's evidence of it right now. Yeah? So it's mad. I can believe that. I can put my studies into that because that makes sense.
Yeah.
So now we go on. Yeah. Autism and other atypical neuron conditions. So we know that it affects the neuron. In a companion article, 2 experts who were not involved in the 2018 papers, the same 2 experts, in fact, behind the 2016 review, wrote that this process offers the best explanation for how nerve cells exchange the information necessary to recognize themselves within the brain over time. These processes underline brain functions are ranging from classical operant. I said that pronounced correctly. Yeah. Conditioning to human cognition and the concept of self. So okay, we leave it at that. So this shows the influence of RNA and DNA impacting in the neurons, impacting within our consciousness. You go and check that source out. Yeah, the ancient virus may be responsible for human consciousness. It breaks it down. So let's go. Let's keep it moving. It makes sense because if you know the science behind it, we can go. So this source is a PDF, as you can see, 25 pages. We're not gonna read all of that. Yeah. So these are all. Let me see. Okay, the references are all here in that PDF. You can see. So this is all the scientists that validate this argument. I'm just going to go to the main point. We were talking about RNA. We talked about virus interacting with RNA. Now we're going to deal with the DNA. Because remember, everything, like I said, is a build-up process. So your parents, your chromosomes and DNA, RNA get pushed into you, and this helps you with your consciousness.
So who that person is.
So your child, they can actually predict how your child is going to act and might be
coming through
your parents.
Yeah. That's how they try and determine, yeah, shit.
So how can any other theory or a theory of a phenomenon
don't make sense. But that ain't no pass down. It couldn't be passed down if it's going from there.
It doesn't, I'm sorry, it doesn't make sense, brother. So after this 25-page article, yeah, we go into the conclusion. This is DNA. The neurogenetics of consciousness is a study of genetic process in where the degree of DNA conscious give a rise to the emergence of neural-based degrees of consciousness. DNA gives the arise of neural-based. So these codes are imprinted. Everything is imprinted. A human only breeds a human because of the genetic coding that's imprinted in them.
Otherwise it ain't happening.
It's not gonna wake up the next day and breed a cat, bro.
Toasty! It ain't happening.
like, please, bro. Like, allow me. And this is all based on tangible, physical substance. The DNA consciousness give a rise to the emergence of neuron-based degree of consciousness. It is initial, not, come on, man.
Yeah, I think that's initial.
Initial identification of neuration of NGCC. I have summarized that after the emergence of the machinery used for neuron-based consciousness. It didn't say consciousness. It says the machinery of the neuron base. Yeah? So it has to be machinery. That this genetic process then provides a continuum of human consciousness. Yeah? Science obviously goes into, unfortunately, towards the end of life. Yeah? It was like towards the end of life. So we know that the emergence, like I was saying,
neurodegeneration.
Yes.
Because it's dying out. Because your life's ending, bro. Yeah, bro, it makes sense. Isn't it? You know what I'm saying? They get Alzheimer's, they get, we call it dementia, all of that stuff. The unbalance is coming, bro. Neurons are dying out, not connecting no more.
They're not firing as they used to. They're not creating the electron.
Yeah, nothing's all linking up in there.
Your senses are starting to roll like this. Your taste buds. Because that's when you get older, you're not tasting your food that you used to taste when you were young. All them cells die out. That makes sense though, don't it? Allow me, boy. Allow me. So, I read it again. I summarized that after the emergence of the machinery used for neuron-based consciousness, that the genetic process then provides a continuum of human consciousness. Ain't talking about nothing else. Human consciousness. Unfortunately, towards the end of life, neurodegeneration takes place. This happens at the age-related pace. But some genetic mutations are associated with the acceleration of earlier offset of this process. Every gene discussed in each of the 3 neurogenetic phrases in this article represents, at least to some degree, the ANGCC underlying this blah blah blah. This article provides evidence that the genetics have a tangible effect on human consciousness. I've been talking about tangible on all my debates. Tangible, created. So you can see this is demonstrated in 3 albeit obvious neurogenetic phrases. This should not be too hard to accept. As for some time now, we have readily accepted the role of genes in a tangible contribution, i.e. behavior and intelligence. Brother, that is a boom. That is a boom, brother. You don't go in. This ain't your passion, brother. You don't go in like this. You don't do this. You don't do what I do. Because if you do what you do, you wouldn't make up the mistakes that you come up with, brother. You made 10 mistakes. Yeah? So I'm sorry, bro. I had to do this, bro. Because brother, brother. And no, brother. I'm not, brother. It ain't just one person. I can name about 2 people with that same watching. Tell me what they watch. Shall I send me some YouTube videos
and talk about but
and debate?
Saying though.
Oh, why is this swerving this way? Why is the electron going that way? Because it's now it's big. The consciousness is making it go this way.
No backings.
Come on, man. How do you know? Show me what scientific method have you have gone through to show me that the electric ions went through this way because it had consciousness. Leave me alone. So remember all these references, brother. And if you go up the 3 phases of neurogenetic phases of the human consciousness, you will see exactly what I'm talking about. 2018. This article provides evidence of tangible effects of human consciousness. This demonstrated in 3 obvious phrases. This should not be hard to accept. So even when you do, and you have to accept my stance on consciousness, because no one can debunk that.
Yeah, no,
it doesn't mean that I need to accept yours. I don't need to. I don't want to. It stinks. It stinks, bro. It's like a stench that you don't want to be a part of. You don't want to associate with. Easy's not with that.
Yeah.
Brother, I agree. I say yes. I understand your philosophy and your mindset behind what you're saying, brother. I'm nodding to what you're saying. But Easy's not putting I'm not. No. I have something here. Why am I gonna change from it's like why am I gonna have something like kinetic philosophy, but then
jump to something that nonsense
and jump on Christianity, when I know that the origin and the philosophy has come from and they remixed it and they went away with it. It don't make no sense. So we going on. I haven't done genetics, bro. We're talking about genetics. I remember someone posted up something, and yes, it all contributes to your consciousness. I'm sorry, bro. It does. So scientists are saying these references. It says references right here. Validate this PDF. Yeah. So when this guy is saying this should not be hard to accept, then they're all reading it and thinking, bro, that's sense. As scientists learn more about the human genome and the downstream effects that can be observed on phenotypic expressions, a more complete picture will begin to crystallize. You know with theoriness, yeah? You know with theory, it stops there.
Yeah, there's no way it can't be.
It's nothing more than just that. You're just saying that it's consciousness. There's nothing more. With science, it's telling you that there's more to crystallize it.
Much more.
The small amounts of evidence communicated in this article justify the second hypothesis that was proposed in the theory of DNA consciousness, which is that DNA gives a rise to the higher degrees of consciousness, i.e. human consciousness. Boom! Again, I'm sorry, brother. Like I said, it's a compilation of material, tangible, it says, that contribute to your human consciousness. Yeah? The first premise of the theory consciousness and the maintenance required during the development and the continuum of the human consciousness is not a random process that predictably evolve. It is orchestrated process that requires a degree of consciousness, even if this is a degree of consciousness that we cannot see. At this point in time, difficult discovery of testable model is a significant problem for both proposal put forth by the theory of DNA consciousness. Firstly, we have to test bomb DNA and to sit at a degree of consciousness. Secondly, we have it goes into more. So the end thing, they shouldn't say that they have to do more research to come. That's why it's still a DNA theory. But they're saying that the small amount of evidence could have justified the whole process. They've got evidence behind what they're saying, you know. So like I said,
and research.
Yeah. So even so, you will find that they're still putting question marks within that source. In the future, I'm talking about in the future when genetic therapists come more reliable. All right, cool. Yeah, that. All right, we got the picture on that source there. Let me just give out another headlight for you to just have in consideration. This is all facts. Your brain lives up to 15 seconds in the past. Studies found. Yeah. So a new source, 2020. New study shows that the human brain actually lives up to 15 seconds in the past. So what does that mean? That means that everything that you perceive now as your reality, yeah, what is considered as consciousness, it was created by your brain 15 seconds before you can see it. That's what it's saying. The brain does it. So you said that you got free will. You said that you got free will. You can control your heart rate and all of this type of stuff. The brain has created that for you 15 seconds before you actually thought about it. This is what the study says. Okay, going to the source by Stephanie Weaver, published in 2022. Yeah, let's go to the conclusion or whatever. According to studies published by Science Advanced Research Analysts, the mechanism of change blindness, which is when people fail to notice some changes over time. The brain automatically smooths our visual input over time. We know that, we can prove that. Let me give you an example of proving that. You know when you can look at a picture for about 30 seconds. You move that picture and look at a blank screen.
But
you still see the outline images. Because now you're
still want that.
Your pros and cones within your retina of your eyes are firing. Yeah? But when they stay at one thing for so long, it will stop firing. Yeah? And some of them will carry on firing even when you move your eyes off the image.
Still seeing
so it will still portray the same image. So now it's your sensory input, it is overlapping. It got lazy and it overlapping. This is all machinery. Photoreceptors. So let's go into it. So researchers of the University of California, Berkeley, and the University of Aberdeen discovered that the brain shows images from seconds in the past instead of updating real-time pictures. Because there's so much going on in your brain can't work. Like I explained before, if you was to live, if it's conscious and everything is happening now, brother, it's so much going on. Your brain has to dummy it down.
Can't cope with everything all at once.
Your brain has to dummy it down for you to process it. So, researchers have found that. Yeah, according to the studies, the brain automatically smooths our visual input over time. Instead of analyzing single visual snapshots, we can see in a given moment an average of what we saw in 15 seconds. Called it. Yeah? So we know, instead of analyzing every single visual snapshot, we perceive in a given moment an average of what we saw in the past of 15 seconds. So the brain does a weighing up. What it's gonna do a prediction for you. What's gonna come next? They try to predict it. That's why when you hear a bang, a loud noise, it shocks the brain because it weren't expecting that. Shocks the brain. So analyze, we perceive. Okay. In other words, the brain is like a time machine which keeps sending us back in time. It's like an app that consolidates our visual input every 15 seconds into one impression so that we can handle everyday life. This is what the brain is capable of doing. Where is consciousness in this? If our brain were to update in real time, because I explained this and I think, I don't know, when I was explaining how so much sensory input and everything, and I was trying to explain that, but I think I reckon a lot of people in the science, well, I don't know, but the people I have interacted with, I don't think they have done too much scientific, because sometimes when I speak, I sound crazy.
Like studies behind it.
I sometimes sound crazy, and then people look at me weird when I'm trying to say to that.
But when they can see it on there as well and come clearer.
It has to become clearer now, because now...
If you said, imagine you say that to somebody without seeing it on a research published, whatnot, they'd be like, nah, your brain don't work like that.
Yeah, like, I get it predict.
Yeah.
Brother.
That's what it'll be like.
So it works like a tab machine. So the back end tab and like an app.
Imagine just saying that part there.
Tab machine.
It'd be like that, bro.
If our brain was to update every real time, the world will feel like a chaotic place with consistent fluctuation in light, shadows and movements. That's done. Right.
I feel like we were hallucinating. It's mushrooms, blood.
Feels like you're hallucinating. To test this, the researchers recruited more than 1,500 patients and compared different conditions in different experiences. The conditions around 50 patients, so it goes in. So this is not cap. Let's go. I think my battery's going in. Okay, where does thoughts come from? Well, do your research. To me, this is light work, so we're gonna go in 2022 source. What are thoughts made of? Thoughts are generated by the brain, which composed of 1 billion neuron cells transmitting impulse through synapse. In other words, through electrochemical reactions. Let's go. Let's keep it moving.
What next?
Yeah, fuck it. I'm just done. How to stop overthinking and trusting our gut instead. Yeah, talking about the gut again. The science behind the gut talks about.
You know, when people say they have that gut feeling, blood.
This is where it comes from. Science behind the gut feelings. Despite our beliefs, there is a deeper neural-based intuition. Scientists call the stomach second gut for the reason of the vast of the network of 1 million neurons lying inside your in the colon. Let's go next one. Nuclear consciousness is in the brain energy field. Again, 2022.
Electromagnetic energy again.
Electromagnetic energy field in the brain. It to me is just, you know, the gap ain't there because so much slides and saying the same thing. Electromagnetic energy field in the brain enables the brain's matter to create consciousness. Again, it's light work. Yeah, electromagnetic energy in the brain enables a brain matter to create consciousness and our ability to be aware and think, according to a new theory developed by blah blah blah, McFadden, Professor John Joel McFadden from the University of Surrey. Yeah. Okay, early theories on what consciousness is and how it has been created tends to a supernatural. Like this is about you, Matt Fit, bro. But early 2020, bro. 2010. Early theories, bro. Early theories on what consciousness is and how it is created tends to a supernatural, suggesting that human and probably other animal possess an immaterial soul that confer consciousness, thought, and free will. This is dualism, bro. It's called dualism. Dualism. Your stuff is outdated. I don't want it, bro. It stinks. It's outdated. Okay. Yeah? This is your... Listen. Please.
Spooky.
Rewind. Early theories on what of consciousness is and how it is created towards the supernatural, suggesting. So don't let Matt Spirit talk to anyone about Islam or Christianity, because what he's theorizing in consciousness is supernatural. That's a fact. Yeah? And it's just that human and probably animals immaterial. You all talk about immaterial, bro. How can physical term, bro? Immaterial soul converts to consciousness through thought and free will, compatibly capabilities that emanate object lack. Most scientists, what up?
Discharge the thing, bro. They discharge it.
What do they call it?
Discharge it like from hospital.
What do they call it?
Or what this?
Most scientists today have disregarded the view known as dualism. That's your philosophy, bro. And it's a theory. Scientists are not running with it. This is in 2020. Updated information, brother.
Spookism.
Woo! They're saying that consciousness is energy fuel. But this is why haven't you spoke about what you actually believe in? Why didn't you? It's a term, bro. It's a term. Because you don't want to give out the term. Because if you give out the term, people go reach out that term.
Look it up.
Look at the term and find out your whole philosophy falls down. It stinks. I stay
Speakism.
away. Supernatural, brother. And what did it say? Most scientists, and that's not just to him. There's many. Oh, modern scientists, bro. Most scientists today disregard to embrace a monistic view of a consciousness generated by the brain itself and its network of billions of nerves. So not just talking about the brain.
That's a shutdown, bro.
Boom, boom. That's what I do. Don't, bro. Listen, that's the thing. Leave easy alone, man. Please, man. Allow it. So by contrast, Matt Faden proposed a scientific form of dualism based on the difference between matter and energy.
That just one paragraph is just
Colossally. It's coloss. So we leave that.
one paragraph. Done.
So look, no, we're not gonna leave that. The theory is based on scientific fact when neurons in the brain and nervous system fire. Oh Lord. Class. I'm sorry. Brother, early conscious, brother, they reject that. This is you. Early furious on what consciousness is and how it's been created towards the supernatural suggests that human and probably other animals possess an immaterial soul and confer to consciousness, thought and free will, capability to emanate objects lack. Most scientists today disregard that view. Sorry. The theory is based on scientific fact when neurons in the brain, you don't speak about neurons, bro, when you go into your philosophy, bro. You start talking about how there's emasculate it. Brother, the brain and the nervous system fire. They only send the familiar electrical signal down the wire like nervous fiber, but then also send pulses. This is where the current, this is where you can see the conscious experience come from the electromagnetic energy in the surrounding tissue. You can see it. It's like how human has aura. You can test it. Because electrical currents creates electric magnetic.
They got some machine I see on some thing as well. They're supposed to be able to take pictures of the aura and shit like that.
Facts, you can see it. If you, brother, it's not hard. Big Bang. This electrical magnetic field is well known and is routinely detected by the brain scanning techniques. So electroencephalogram, if I pronounce that correctly, and another one. Yeah? Check out the source and read it, bro. I don't have to pronounce every word for me not to stand on the truth, bro. It's collapse, blood. Yeah? So propose that the brain forms rich magnetic fields is in fact itself the seat of consciousness. Electromagnetic field is in fact itself the seat of consciousness, driving free will and voluntary actions. This new theory also accounts why, despite their emission complexity of ultra-fast operation today, computers will not inhabit the slightest spark of consciousness. However, with the right technical development, robots that are aware can think of themselves.
See, because they're just saying that, you know how they're building robots and whatnot nowadays, if they came up with the right components, they can think for themselves. Yeah, and it ain't the components of the wisdom. Let's go. Easy locking off the thing. Again, consciousness is the brain information, rich in energy again. Remarkable new studies. 2020, brother. Yeah, I'm shocked then.
Okay, this is one kind of references. He's referencing
the guy from before.
Yeah, the same doctors. So many of them. So okay, yeah, and this is the same thing. Most scientists today disregard that. So there's another one pulling that. So next. Yo, Kadon. What are you saying, brother? This is that presentation, bro.
One sec. Boomba, can you hear me, yeah?
Yeah, just about. Stop.
You say it's not quiet, yeah?
Huh?
Is it mad quiet? Let me just one sec.
Yeah, I can hear you, bro. I can hear you clearly, man.
it's all loading. It's doing some loading business.
Loading too. Yo.
You say, you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you, bro.
Yeah, that's clear now, yeah? Yo.
Yo, I can hear you. I'm hearing you.
Alright. So boom, yeah?
I'm gonna be in front of my screen. I'm gonna be in front of the screen. Just in case you wanna
Alright, cool, yeah. Like you done a lot there, yeah. So I can't go to the beginning of my points because I was trying to ask questions. So obviously I'm just gonna start where you kinda ended, yeah?
Yeah.
One thing I wanna say that because you're so adamant on trying to prove your point, you're letting your gasness make you not see when you're not even proving your point. So I'll give you 2 examples of this here, and then we'll go on to my other rebuttals. One of your last sources there, you was talking about dualism, and you was getting gas, all of that. But
Yeah.
the guy will...
I don't know, I think it might be the reception here.
Yeah.
The reception here, shit. It's gonna be connecting again. Don't wanna hear this stuff. Still been reconnecting.
Yeah, I might have to do this in the car. It's been that hot for it. It should be alright, innit? I have to do this in the car the way back and the brother OE needs to
Wait, it's
go somewhere.
still got 20.
Yeah, but this reception is bad though.
Yeah,
It's collapse blood.
I'm gonna try one more time to load it. Try and load it one more time. Or even try and put the phone there with the tissue.